welcome back to Indie Faith Podcast. You're here with Jules and Mary. We are on episode 41 and we are joined by a very special guest today. He's the owner of clothing brand PolyKidz, Tongan entrepreneur Vilz. Hey Vilz, how are you? Welcome.
Hey guys, thanks for having me.
I don't know if you watched the game last night.
Nah, I did it to be honest. I had my alarm full set, but yeah, nah, didn't get up in time to watch the game. Yeah.
Yeah, no, same.
Whether you're Tongan Samoan, but to be honest, our people's getting up there, and it's good to see the boys, you know, get up there. So it's good.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. It's been such a high for our people the last 2 weeks. Um, but yeah, I woke up on a buzz this morning when I saw the stats. So I was like,
Yeah, I've seen it all on Instagram. I was like, oh yeah, the boys got up, which was it's great to see. It's
yeah,
um it's it's good to finally see our little nation get up there and everybody else cheering them on, no matter what background you are.
mm,
So it's good. Yeah.
yeah, 100%. Um, all right, so we'll get into a little bit about yourself. So you're a father of five. Can you tell us more about your tell our
That's right. Yeah.
viewers more about yourself?
Um. So name's Vilz. Um. I'm Tongan. Uh. Born in Australia. Grew up in a little suburb in Sydney called Mascot. And yeah. 5 kids. Been married for 15. Um. And yeah,
Wow.
happy now. Yeah, we got a little business called PolyKidz that we started a few years back, just cause yeah, just to sort of represent my kids in a way,
Mm.
um, as they're half Tongan, half half Australian, and yeah, not many people out there really acknowledge the half caste kids, so
Yeah.
that's why me and my wife sort of started the business.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
amazing. Yeah, I was gonna say when did you start your business? And like how did that come about?
I think it started around 2016, 2017 or something like that. To be honest, it was all my wife's idea. It all started with her realizing as my oldest kids now didn't really get in touch with their Tongan culture. We sort of didn't keep them away, but we sort of kept distance for my side of the family and stuff like that. We were just always concentrating on ourselves. We weren't always in a happy place, so we made sure that we were, working on each other, working on our family first. But yeah, since having all the kids and her realizing the kids aren't really in touch with their Tongan culture, she just thought, why not start something that can represent them, in a way. So she started making these little Polynesian shoes
Oh
for
wow.
for babies, and bibs and things like that. And then it just sort of went
It's
from there. Yeah.
amazing.
So yeah, it was our kids that sort of inspired her to start. Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny that way, huh? Like our kids are our biggest inspiration. We, Mary and I also have half caste kids as well. And it's similar to your journey where we did this podcast to sort of learn more about our culture as well, and also to convey that to our kids. So yeah, that
Yeah.
it's beautiful to see that like everyone's sort of getting back in touch with their culture. But yeah, was it? What are like the biggest challenges that you've faced being in the business?
Um, me personally, like I don't try. We haven't really tried to challenge ourselves, to be honest. We're just sort of going with the flow. You know what I mean? Just to sort of put it out there for people to acknowledge their half caste kids. You know what I mean? So we haven't really
Mm,
taken that bigger step. We haven't taken that leap yet to sort of make it bigger than we want it to be at the moment. So, but the most challenging part about it is dealing with that and our surroundings, like my work, the kids. Like we homeschool our kids as well. So for my wife to sort of deal with that at the same time, there's always that negative thought that we can't get through it in a way. But every day we just make phone
Yeah.
calls and text messages to each other and just sort of push each other forward. So by the time I finish work, come home and
Yeah.
try to help her out as much as I can with things around the house while she gets the business side stuff on. But yeah, that's the most
Oh
challenging
wow.
part is just trying to make time for everything, just so everything sort of goes smoothly in a way. So yeah.
Yeah. And do your kids are they a part of that as well? Do they get to be a part of, like, the production side of the clothing?
Not really. My eldest daughter, she really loves doing art, so she sort of
Oh
asked
wow.
her mum to sort of design some shirts up and things like that. So yeah, she's the only one that sort of gets involved. Everybody else is just oh mum, dad, did you want us to wear a t-shirt? So we'll just take a photo of it so you can put it on your website, things like that. That's the only
Oh.
time they get involved. But yeah,
Oh, that's so cute. Um, so for a lot of our people, like, we all have these, like, massive ideas, and like, we talk a lot about, trying to start businesses and that. For anyone out there that is trying to start something, what's your advice?
do it. Don't be scared. Everyone fails. And if you don't
Mm,
fail, you ain't learning. So if you're not gonna fail, you ain't gonna learn. You ain't gonna move forward. To be honest, that
yeah.
was mine and my wife's biggest fear was failing. And especially our people, we a lot of people talk. They all talk. And to be honest, if someone fails, our own people are the first people to put them down instead of
Yeah.
encouraging them and picking them up and and trying to help them out in any way. But then as soon as that person sort of takes that leap of faith and succeeds in some sort of way, they're also the first person there to sort of say, yeah, I knew you were going to do it that day. But then if that person failed, they'll sort of, chuck them under the bus. So, but to anybody out there that wants to do something and put everything into it, to be honest, prove whoever's doubting you wrong. And yeah, don't be scared to fail. Because to be honest, every time we do fail, it's a lesson learned. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. Um, I don't know if you find this as well, as like, you don't, like, a lot of our people, like, I love that you pointed that out, is that a lot of, when we're down, a lot of our people put us down, like, bury us after that. um but a lot of, like, I don't know if you find with parents, um when you try and have, like, this outrageous idea to start a business, it's always like, no, 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 that's for balangis, that's for the white people.
Yeah.
You just go to work and, do, like, grind and come back with the money. um like, do you like, being in the business, have you seen, like, anybody around you that sort of, like, where that um where they've grown up in, like, an environment like that?
Oh yeah, heaps. Everybody that I know is growing up in an environment like that. Like me too.
Mm.
Like I never really wanted to start a business when I grew up. To be honest, I wanted to go to the army because my dad was in the army back in Tongan, and
Oh
that
wow.
was sort of like that sort of inspired me to do all of that. When I was young, everything I did was had to got to do with the army. I was always making like silly obstacle courses at home in the backyard with my brothers and sisters and pretending I was like in the army. I'm always watching movies related to the armies, things like that. My dad was a person that really supported in everything I did, and mom didn't. She always wanted the best for me, but she wanted me to do it in sort of like a safe way that she knows sh that she can see me all the time, 24/7. So
Yeah.
yeah, she's like, nah, you're not gonna go to the army. It's too dangerous. Things like that. Going through school, I had my maths teacher was a police officer, and he sort of retired from that to help kids in the youth kids and stuff in the PCYC. And he's the one that brought to my attention, and he goes, look, if you do good in school, I'll put a good word out there. You'll be a good cop. So and I was like, oh, that's a good idea. Something not the army, but become a police officer and help the community in any way possible. So I sort of handed it to my parents and said, oh yeah, my maths teacher said it would be good if I was a cop, I want to do it. My dad said, yeah, if that's
Yeah.
what you want to do it. And Mum said, nah, it's too dangerous. People are getting shot if you were to run, all of these negative stuff. Um, and then the same thing through footy, it was just, yeah, my mum's like,
Yeah.
my parents are very churchy people. So wasn't allowed to do anything
Mm.
on a Sunday. So me making rep sides and stuff in state had to always play or train on Sundays. I couldn't even do that. So everything sort of held me like, in a way, my mum sort of held me back in things I wanted to sort of do for my future. But it is what it is, moving on. So
Yeah. Yeah. No, they always have the best intentions, but probably not the right intentions.
that's
I
right.
would
Yeah,
say. Um,
yeah. And honestly, I don't blame my mum for it.
um,
I used to when I was young, but now I don't. Like, and the
yeah,
reason why I don't is because I know she was still learning. Until this day, she still is. I'm still learning as a father myself
yeah,
every day. So yeah,
yeah. I found that like once you become a parent, then you kind of understand, what they went through, and like you're sort of learning as well, and you kind of now realize, oh, they must have been just learning the same time as well, and trying to figure out, because it's hard. It's so hard to be a parent.
100%. Yeah, it is. It is. They teach us what they've only been taught or what they've gone through, sort of thing. And it's also hard for
Yeah.
us because we're in a different country that they're still trying to understand and get comfortable with. And then for them to teach us their ways, and then us trying to teach our own kids their ways plus our own ways in this country, it's hard. Yeah,
Mm.
very hard.
Yeah.
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 As far as, because you said you have 5 kids and I only have the one. So I guess my question would be, how do you find balancing having 5 kids, working, and running a business? Because like you said, if we want to do it, go for it. How do you find the time? But also, how do you make sure you also give enough time to all of your kids?
Um, to be honest, we didn't know at the time. It was before we started our business. We were at first we started going to the gym, and we had to split it, sort of thing. My wife will go during the day, and then by the time she comes home, um, oh no, sorry, I'll go to the gym during the day during my work break. I'll come home, and then in the evening she'll go to the gym. But then there were times where she didn't really feel like going to the gym because of the way she was so judgmental about the way she looked. She was uncomfortable about it. So she felt like going to the gym, she wasn't putting in her all. So I said, all right, well then we'll go together. And she goes, what about the kids? They're too young to stay home by themselves and things like that. So I had to sort of explain to her the way I grew up. There were times when my parents had to work 2, 3 jobs each, and they were both overstays at the time. I said I had to look after my siblings since the age of like 9 or 10 years old, and we did everything our parents asked us to do. My parents put the trust in me, and I think it's our turn to put the trust in our kids, even though they're young. We're not working and stuff, but we're trying to work on ourselves. So if we explain it to our kids, we talk to the kids, eventually they'll understand and they will know that we trust them and things like that. So we just did it. We left them at home on their own. We took off to the gym. The first few weeks, I think we went to the gym for about half an hour, 45 minutes max. Come home, they were all sweet. Everything was okay. And it just sort of flowed from there. There was no specific timetable that we put in place to spend time with the kids and go to the gym and stuff. Um, we just sort of took every day step by step. If it didn't work, it didn't work. It wasn't every day that we went to the gym. It wasn't every day that I had to go to work. There were so many days I had to take off work, just to sort
Yeah.
of help my wife sort of keep things at home sort of flowing, so it helps her out a bit.
Yeah.
There were times that we had to sacrifice days of running the business just to make sure that I'll go to work and we go to the gym to sort of help ourselves and to spend more time with our kids. Um, but yeah, like that's just the way we did it. We sort of went with the flow first, and then when something worked, we sort of kept it there, and then from then on, yeah, every time something fell into place, we kept that at that specific time, and then so on and so on. But yeah, even now, like our kids are much older, 15-year-olds, 14-year-olds. looking after our youngest two, especially like now we spend 2.5 to 3 hours at the gym. Time we come home, it's everything's still sweet. So yeah.
That's awesome.
That's admirable. I can't even get my ass to the gym. um, so why we started talking on Instagram was I seen the message behind your business, and I thought it was just so beautiful that there's like, not only is it like a clothing brand, but there's a a big message behind it. Can you share with our audience what that is?
um, so it's so our business is PolyKidz. We incorporated our mental health and suicide prevention movement into it because um, I went through that stage. I had mental issues and I had suicide thoughts a few years back. Um, so my wife decided to start a little movement just to spread the awareness a bit more. You know,
Yeah.
she understands her side and I understand my side. And to put it with the PolyKidz, it's just finding out stats and stuff from other people and obviously on the net. Polynesians, we hold the highest rate here in New Zealand. Sorry, here in Australia and in New Zealand. Uh, yeah, same as the indigenous people, the Aborigines here and the Maoris in NZ. We all hold the highest rate of suicide in Australia and NZ. And I
Jeez.
told me and my wife, sort of said to each other, if we start our own movement page, it's going to be hard to sort of raise that sort of awareness. So why not put it together with the business? And not only because we've got a few followers on there, it's because it can sort of relate to the same thing. You know,
Mm.
the mental health and the suicide can relate to the Polynesian kids that are going through this stuff. You
Yeah.
know, putting them two and two together, we can do both of it at the same time. Um, you know, putting it out there for the half caste kids and all Polynesian kids that embrace your culture, no matter what side you're on, but also for our Polynesian kids and Indigenous kids out there, that this mental health and suicide stuff is real for us people. We've got to we've got
Oh
to break the
yeah.
stigma about it. So yeah, that's why we put two and two together. So, but yeah, we started it a few years back after I sort of went through my own episode and stuff like that. So yeah,
Yeah. What do you think is the main reason for the high suicide rates, especially with our people?
me personally, I think it's just the pressure of everything that our it's not just our parents, but it's everyone around us. We're such loving people, but we're also big people, and people just are so intimidated about us that we have to play um, the good guy and the bad guy in a way. Like as much as our people are so kind and loving, we love to give, but then there's also people out there that think we're so ruthless that we can fight, that we can do anything because we're so big and we've just got these natural genetics that we can use it for what
Mm.
they want. But all of that plus all the stuff from our parents, our cultural stuff, it plays a big part in our mental health.
Mm.
Me, it was just my own little family, my wife and kids, and I didn't know that I was how upset they were about me, about the way I was changing and things like that. So um, it was really hard at the time. So, but yeah, for our people, we just sort of need to take it back a bit and give our kids and give our own people a chance to sort of speak up about what it is that's on their mind,
Mm.
and we just have to listen. We have to listen. So yeah,
I think a lot of our people as well, like we're very prideful as well, that we don't reach out for help because it's deemed weak if we do.
that's
Um,
right. Yeah.
Especially when you're looking at getting counseling. Um,
Mm.
and yeah, 100% with the parents as well, like the financial pressures, the cultural pressures, and that. But yeah, I think like, or I'm not too sure, but like, do you think that there's a conflict as well between like the rapid change of Western society and then the slow paced old school ways of, Pacifica, that we kind of in living in between two worlds?
Yeah, massively, massively. And that's the hard thing about our people trying to get used to. Trying to get used to the Western side of everything and then get used to their own parents' side of stuff, the old school way, you know. Me, I love my
Yeah,
old school way, but at the same time, I have to understand the new ways that my kids are growing up in, you know. And that's something I sort of realized that my
yeah,
parents didn't really understand, you know. Um, so yeah, you know, disciplining kids and stuff. Like, my parents used to always give us hidings for stuff, you know, or just scream at us and swear at us. Not really swear at us in front of people, but just give us a mad growling in front of people and threaten that they're gonna give us a hiding when we get home and things like that. And they always did, you know, and it was brutal, pretty brutal. But with my kids, I started doing that, you know. I did start like that, and that was the only way I sort of knew things. Um,
yeah,
but then I started realizing that my kids were more fearful of me than listening to me and respecting me in a
mm,
way as a father. So I had to sort of tone it down, change my ways, and change the way I do things, not for myself but for my kids. And now I realize
yeah,
now that I sort of put two and two. There is my way, and then there is another way. My kids now they talk to me about everything. Now they're always asking me to go to the shops with them and things like that. You know, which as before it was never like that. So it is hard, very hard for our people to sort of um, follow both ways at the same time. Yeah,
yeah, yeah. Like, especially and this probably ties into your business experience as well, is like, even when you're trying to hit success in the Western world, because that's where the money is and all of that, and we have career aspirations and that, but it's hard to explain that to your parents that you don't, like, need to make the sacrifice to live your dream and to get the big bucks. um
yeah,
yeah, so like I noticed that that's also, I don't know if this is the same, similar to Tongans as well, but like, in with Samoans, like, a lot of our young ones, we have to work where 80% of our pay or more goes to our parents.
man. To be honest, I wouldn't know. To be honest. Me, I've been married since I was 19. So pretty much as soon as I finished school, I started,
Oh wow.
didn't really start working, but like, I did work. But it didn't take me long to, sort of propose to my missus, and then as soon as I worked, it was just, everything just sort of saved up and went to the wedding. And then after that, I just sort of blew it on alcohol, pretty much. I was living under my parents' roof for
Mm,
a bit, and then we both lived under her parents for a bit, so we weren't really, and me, my pay, like, barely went to my parents. So I
mm,
couldn't tell you, to be honest. Um,
yeah.
but with my younger siblings, I've got five siblings under me, and they sort of help out in things around the house with whatever they've got. But yeah, I wouldn't know if it's like that sort of Tongan way. Yeah,
Mm. Um, do you think that there's a lot of support and awareness around sex education in the Pacifica community? Even just saying that is got uncomfortable, but like, we need
it
to like talk about
yeah,
things.
it is. Yeah, like, to be honest, it's there's not much talk about it. To be honest, I don't think there is any talk about it because of that sort of respect aspect of it, or with the brothers and sisters and all of that. Um, me, I respect that way, but at the same time, it's one of those way where people need to wake up and start saying stuff because a lot of people just always talk about, oh, don't have kids now, whatever,
Yeah.
but then to sort of teach your own kids that you can't, a lot of people are too embarrassed or they feel they don't They can't speak to their own kids about it because of the respectful way. But then at the same time, it's like it
Yeah.
doesn't necessarily mean you have to go into detail things about it.
Yeah.
You can be respectful in a way and educate your kids about it. I've just started doing that with my older three. It is a bit uncomfortable, but they look at me weird, and I just say,
Yeah.
look, it's got to be done. You aren't at school now. You guys are getting
Yeah.
homeschooled. And even when they were in high school and things like that, at public schools and stuff, they would still come home and say, "Oh, it was just weird. We're in a classroom full of boys and girls. Our teachers telling us how to do this, how to about sex education." I was like, "Why do you feel uncomfortable?" And they were like, "Oh, we don't want to know about that stuff." But it's I
Yeah.
tell them, I go, "These are things that you have to know. These are things that they're teaching you guys for your future later on. That something might come up. You guys got to make. You guys might make good choices. Some people make bad choices. So it's
Mm.
something we have to learn. So I'm sort of trying to sort of talk to my kids about it in a way, just bit by bit, just little things here and there.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's difficult. It's very difficult
Yeah.
to talk to
Yeah.
them about. Yeah,
I mean, especially now, with the age of the internet. So like, we had to have that conversation and with my 7-year-old son, and we didn't think we'd ever have to have that conversation yet, but he had already been exposed to a lot of stuff on the internet and that, so we had to kind of sit him down and have that chat. And but the main thing, like, with sex education, I know with islanders, as soon as you mention that word, they will put off and they don't want to hear anything more. But I
yeah,
think, like, one of the benefits of talking about it is so that teach our children to set boundaries, because there is also, like, it ties in with the suicide rates, but there's also a high number of islanders that have been abused sexually.
that's right. If we don't educate our kids enough about it, like you said, like kids can make bad choices, and when they do make bad choices, and people find out, people talk. When these people talk, these kids that have made these bad choices for themselves, some of them will get depressed. Some of them won't be able to handle that sort of pressure on themselves, and they start getting into a state where they don't feel worthy about themselves. So um, things like this we have to address to our kids. It's important. It's not something that we can just go around and blab, because it's somebody else's feelings that we are hurting. And as much as it might sound wussy and stuff in a way, but to be honest, everybody has feelings. And if nobody really cared about anything, why do people get
Yeah.
scared? Why do people get so angry and agitated when, if someone was to say something to them that's maybe not truthful or could be truthful, but then they get hurt about it? And they react to it. So obviously they care
Yeah.
about what people say. Um, but yeah, we just need to sort of educate our kids about it more and just teach them there are good ways to go about it, but then there are some decisions that they can make. It can affect them later on in the future. So yeah,
Mm. So since you started advocating for mental health and suicide prevention, have a lot of people reached out to you for, like, help, or just reached out in general, on that aspect?
yeah. Yeah, heaps. We've had heaps of people from NZ, a few people from here. Uh, we had a couple of people from England. Yeah, so it's been pretty. It's
Oh,
been
wow.
to me that's massive. Even if it was one person
Yeah.
anywhere in the world that reached out, that's massive for me. For me to go through it myself and understand their sort of struggle, their thoughts, things like that, and for them to reach out, just one person reaching out, it's massive. It's really big. I've had a
Yeah.
couple of kids from out west during lockdown. They've reached out. I've had FaceTimes with them and things like that.
Wow.
Um, yeah, it's a really big thing for our people. It's massive.
Yeah.
A lot of people just don't think it's big. But behind these
Mm.
kids might be smiling one day, then a few minutes later they're not. You know, and
Yeah.
we just need to
Yeah.
always ask that question, if to ask if they're okay. We can't wait for that one time a year that they make it big about. We have to ask it every day. So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And in those stats as well, the high percentage of Pacifica people that have committed suicide are males as well.
Yeah, our male people just need to sort of, we just need to sort of push our pride and ego aside. To be honest, that's all it is. It's got nothing. And it was me. I was it was always me. With my family, I had to sort of push that aside and listen to my wife and kids. And when I did, I literally cried to them for like 10 minutes that night. I cried to my kids and my wife, and apologized to them, and things like that. I had to push it aside to actually understand why they're upset. I can't just sit there and keep my pride and ego and just think to myself, it's like, I don't think I've done anything wrong. Whatever, everything wrong has got to do with my wife and kids. That's what I always used to think. Because I was always working, I was coming home and, giving them money to spend every weekend, just doing their own thing. I just thought it was them that wasn't happy. But I didn't realize it was me that wasn't happy.
Yeah.
And came to realize that it was me spending less time with my wife and kids, seeing them going out with my mother-in-law and father-in-law, being happy with them, that I didn't
Mm.
realize that was killing me. That I wasn't making enough time for my wife and kids back then to spend time with them, to take them shopping and things. I was always at work, coming home from work, and then just doing my own thing, just sitting around. There were even times I was ignoring my kids, you know. Um, but yeah, for our male people, we just need to push our pride and ego aside, and it doesn't make you less of a man to listen to your wife. It doesn't make you less of a man to listen to
Mm.
your kids. To be honest, for me, it made me more of a man to listen to my wife and kids. I grew an extra pair and went to the doctors, got diagnosed with, you know, um, depression. Finally went to sort of psychiatrist, psychologist, went to the angiometry classes, all of that sort of stuff for my wife and kids, just to find out it was just me. It wasn't had nothing to do with them. It was just me. So I knew what I had to do, and I did that. Fixed myself first, and then to fix me, I fixed my relationship with my wife and kids, and I'm still working on that today, every day. But I'm in a happy place now, so yeah, our male just need to do that. Speak up.
Yeah.
Push their ego and pride aside, and get some help.
I admire you so much for being very open with that, because I know I have five brothers myself,
Thank
and
you.
a lot of Pacifica cousins, male cousins that are very prideful as well, and don't like to talk about their feelings, or don't like to be vulnerable, because it's always looked at as they're weak. And it's funny
Yeah,
because not many people around them look at them that way. They look at themselves that way.
mm, that's true.
um yeah, so it's like so thank you so much for openly coming on and opening up about your experiences as well, and hopefully, like, it helps a lot of our Pacifica men as well. um what are some early signs that people can look out for? Because I find it hard, because a lot of times you look at them and they just seem all right, but then you don't know the struggle behind that, or you don't know what's going on in their heads, because they're so private, they're so withdrawn. But, like,
Yeah.
growing up with them, they kind of always been that way. So, like, what are some of the signs that we can look out for?
To be honest, there's for me personally, I don't know like any sort of sign. I'm just one of those people where I just ask questions. No,
Mm.
not direct personal questions, but just always asking if they're okay. You know what I mean? And the more uncomfortable they get, the more I start realizing that they're not okay. If that makes sense. Um,
Mm.
some people that personally that sort of change the way they do things, or even on social media, you'll start realizing, and then you can just ask that question straight away. But yeah, for me, like the more I ask if they're okay, the more uncomfortable I start realizing they're getting, and then that's when I know that they're not okay.
Ah.
It doesn't mean that I start pushing the boundaries and start asking what's the matter, things like that. I just reach out to them to ask how they are every day. If it's not every day, every second they ask, oh, how you doing? Just thought I'll check in. Shoot us a text when you can. And they'll message back, yeah, I'm all good. You start realizing when they start opening up a bit more. The more and more they open up a bit
Yeah.
more, you'll start realizing that there's something behind it. So yeah, there's even a few people I've done that too. We've met up for coffee, things like that, and I've just told them, I go, look, I just want to meet up. Just want to make sure you're okay. I'm not here for you to tell me anything you're going through, but I'm just here to let you know that I've got your back. Just having a coffee here, just two mates having a coffee. After today, that's it. Next time we meet up, have another coffee. That's it. It's no meetings for anybody to tell me a story or anything like that or what they're going through. I'll let them tell me when they're ready. There's, for me, they've got enough pressure on what they're holding within themselves. There's no point of me giving them that extra pressure to make them tell me what's wrong. For them to unload onto me if they don't feel comfortable, that's extra pressure on them. It ain't gonna help.
Yeah.
So everything takes time. So yeah.
Like I really like that advice that you gave, with just sort of letting them, just asking the question, "Are you okay?" until they're comfortable to talk to you, or you don't have to talk about it at all. Because I find, like, me as a woman, because we talk. So I find, like, that was good advice for us women to sort
Mm.
of, like, don't go in there and drill the person and be
Yeah.
like, what's going on? Like, I could tell that you're, there's a vibe. Like, so yeah, no, that's helped a lot. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, because to some people it could be confronting, for someone to approach it, to
Yeah.
approach someone like that. So that's why some people will sort of hold back even more or even longer instead of coming out just to so when they're feeling comfortable. So yeah, yeah, like I've had a lot of people like that. You can sort of tell that they want to sort of tell you what's happening, but then for you not to ask, it's like some people want you to ask. You know what I mean? But then I've
mm,
noticed a few people that I've asked them if they're okay, and then for them to sort of not say anything, I feel like they're going to be more uncomfortable if I ask them what's wrong. For them to sort of
yeah,
unload onto me what's actually going on through their head and what they're actually going through. I feel like they will feel more judged if I was to ask them that sort of thing. So I let them sort of tell me when they're ready. You know. Yeah.
I have a question.
Yes.
My question is, like Jules said, we're female, so we tend to be a bit more to the point and too direct when we ask. You as a male, how do we do it in a way? Because to us as girls, we have family members, we have friends, we have loved ones who are just so quiet, um, that even when you do try and approach them in a way that's not too confronting, they're just not ready. How do you, for you, when you were going through it, what would you
Yeah.
have wanted, specifically us women, what would you have wanted us to do so that we approach it in a more understanding way and more so they know it's a safe place and they can reach out? Because I think I'm sort of suffocating the ones that I love because I don't know how to how to
Yeah.
do it in a way that they're happy to take on. So
No, no. To be honest, nobody knows how to. We have to be patient. Yeah. It just takes, like I said before, it's just gonna take a lot of time, and it's not one like people will recover easy. People will take longer to recover. Some people like that. It's just some people will open up straight away. Some people might not. So for um, like you're saying, for you women, if that's how you guys feel, you guys just need to have that patience, more patience to sort of let them come out of their shell, sort of thing. It's not something that you're gonna want to get out of them for them, just for you to know. You know what I mean? As much as you want to help and want to know what's happening to them, so you can help, you can't force that out of them. And if you do, they might feel uncomfortable, and then if they know, they might think, oh, they might say something to someone else. They might say something. So for you just being patient and letting them come out when they're ready, that will build that the trust there will just build more. Yeah, the more trust you build between the two of you, the more they're gonna unload onto you, and the more comfortable it'll be. You know what I mean? Um, yeah, it was. So every time, every person I've met so far, I've never asked a question. I've always just asked if, "Are you okay?" And they say, "Yeah, I'm all good." Oh, sweet, that's it. We'll talk about other things like footies. People, I'll talk to people about soccer, anything, but nothing got to do with them, sort of thing, unless they're ready. And I have had people eventually open up later on, not face to face, but over messages. And I would tell them, I go, sweet, if this is the case, how about we meet up again and we'll talk more about it, but somewhere else. And they'll be like, yeah, sweet. So instead of going to a cafe or something, we'll just grab a coffee, go for a walk at a park or something, just sit on the park bench and, have a chat. Eventually they come back out again and tell me what they've told me in a message instead, and then for them to feel more comfortable, you can realize it's you in a way for yourself to not ask, you feel like you've helped more because you've been patient, you've helped that person in a way to sort of build the confidence within themselves to sort of share their story with you instead of you pushing it out of them, so yeah, that's my advice anyways, but yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, that's good. I think there's a lot with raising awareness and helping people through mental health, but it's the how that's the part that we kind of always struggle with, because then like there's people that are at their most fragile point and you kind of like don't want to tip them over kind of thing, like, and it's you see that they're struggling, but you so much you want to help, but you kind of don't know how to approach the
Yeah,
situation. So it was yeah, no, that was really good advice.
thank you.
um do you know if there's any Pacifica run programs for mental health?
To be honest, no.
Do you think like that if there was a program, it might attract a lot more of our
um,
people to sort of seek help?
um, yeah, I think it could. I think it could. um, I wouldn't know if it'll be successful in a way. Like, to be honest, like, what I'm doing now on social media, it's I'm getting messages from people that people would not expect to message me. Um, that they're going through something. You know what I mean? Um, having all of that sort of stuff can help out people, 100%. But if they're not gonna actually help out people individually, I don't know how to explain it. Like for me, sometimes like I'll go out of my way, you know what I mean, to help someone. Whether it does help them eventually or not,
Mm,
I'll do what I can. Um, like that, and that's what I try to do. It's
mm.
just lending an ear for them to talk to me about whatever it is. Um, that's the furthest I've gone so far. You know what I mean? Um, I do want to sort of start something like that eventually, but I sort of want to get more of an understanding of our people and things like that first, because times do change. So yeah, but I do think it will help. Yes, I do think so.
Yeah, I was we did an episode a few episodes back about mental health, and we put out I was looking for any sort of Pacifica program that's more tailored towards our Pacifica youth. But I couldn't find anything. There were a couple, I think, in New Zealand, but it was just the usual ones here in Australia. And I don't know from personal experience, it is very hard to you know use those programs that are available, because they will never Balangis, like, to us, Balangis will never understand our circumstances. They don't understand our culture or how things are run by our culture. So, like, I think that kind of deters, a lot of the kids from, reaching out to those programs to
Yeah,
help out. But I would, yeah, I would 100% support you if you go that route, or anybody who's like, looking at Pacifica Run programs for
yeah,
mental health. I think it would be awesome to see a lot more, because you can relate more to someone of your own kind.
100%.
Um, but yeah, um,
You talk about your wife a lot. Do you reckon it helped that she's also not Pacifica to sort of expose you to other sort of issues that have it that we don't even know? Because I'm pretty sure a lot of Pacificas don't even know what mental health is, and like what depression is, what um, you know anxiety is, and what causes suicide rates to be so high for our people. Do you reckon it was a huge help that she's not Pacifica?
Yeah, totally. That there are times where she doesn't. Oh, she never really understood the Tongan culture. We always argued about it. Like when I always wanted to go to church, I sort of wanted to take my kids to church with my parents and stuff, and I did start. But then there were the times where it came up to like White Sunday and things like that. That's when I sort of like, no, we're not coming to church. And my parents were like, why not? I was like, I don't want my kids pressure to do that sort of stuff. And they goes, oh, but it's a good thing. I go, no, it's not. Like, I hated that when I was young. I did it just to, not get a hiding or something like that. But yeah, I never want to put my kids through that sort of
yeah,
pressure for church. But yeah, it helped in a way because um, I started realizing how much pressure the kids, our Pacific kids, go through from a very young age. So for her to sort of not agree to it at the same time with me was a good thing, and it sort of opened my eye to stuff that our parents are pushing us to do, things that we don't really want to do. But it's not just that; it's the like this White Sunday. It's a Sunday for kids. I understand, but to put so much pressure on kids these days at a very young age, it's for me, it shouldn't happen at all. So she did help a lot, massively, to understand my culture in a way as well. But then to also understand that there are things that I shouldn't be pushing my kids or pushing my kids to do, because it will affect them. It does affect the kids mentally. So yeah, yeah,
I think that's all I had, because it sounds like you guys pretty much taught each other, and you guys are still teaching each other stuff, and that I think that's beautiful. I think a lot of Pacifica couples need to sort of learn how to do that. Well, all
yeah,
couples really, but
100%,
that's awesome.
100%.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, but she's still trying to understand stuff now, which is great. But she's loving more of wanting to get herself and the kids more involved in the culture sort of thing. I've got my sister's wedding in a couple of weeks, and she sort of wants them to do like a traditional Tongan dance for my sister's wedding, but it's like too soon for them to learn something. But I don't want you to push them into it. I want them to sort of say yes, and if they do, they'll eventually learn and they'll fall in love with the art of the Taulunga sort of thing. So yeah, and it's good to see that. Yeah.
that's amazing. And it was your wife that pushed for the kids to know more about their culture, eh? No,
It is, yeah, yeah.
was that something that you were thinking of?
Sorry, it's just I've always tried to sort of teach my kids that from a very young age, but because having twins at first and then having a third one 11 months later, it was more like my wife was more scared of the timing of things. Like us islanders, we love to go with the flow. We'll have kids out to about 10, 11, sometimes 12, 1 o'clock at night. My wife didn't, she wasn't like that. She wanted her kids to be in bed at a certain time, have breakfast, lunch, and dinner at a certain time, things like that. Just so, because having twins at first, she thought of it being very hard. But yeah. Um,
Mm.
yeah, now that she's sort of going with the flow of everything, yeah, it's a lot more. It's less pressure on her, so she's good. She's finding it a bit easier now.
Man, honestly don't know how you guys do it.
Yeah.
I say, all right, we're coming to the end of our questions. But if you had 1 minute, I really like this question. If you had 1 minute to send your younger self a message, what would it be?
Oh man, just live life the way you want to live, and as much as we want to listen to our parents sometimes, but there are sometimes we should go against their words, for our future, in a way. Um, but yeah, if it was me, just live life the way you want to live it. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, I might actually ask. We'll go around actually. Cause what would you, if you had 1 minute to send yourself a message, what would it
Oh my.
be?
Don't be so scared all the time. I was just too scared. Especially going back to my younger self. Just too scared. So I think I would just have a good minute to nothing. Just to be like, don't be so scared all the time. That's like life is scary and the world's scary, but there's no need to hold back or hold yourself back. That would be mine.
Hmm.
Mm, yeah.
What about you, Kaz?
Um, I don't. I think 1 minute wouldn't be enough for. um, just yeah, it would be the same. Like find your identity would be one. Find your identity. Find out who
Yeah.
you are, um, and believe in yourself. I think that that'll sum up everything that I want to say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
um. All right. So, last question for you, Vilz. What is your message to anyone that may be watching and is at that point of their lives where they want to give up?
don't don't give up. To be honest, it's too soon. Way too soon. What you're going through now is you might think is really hard. But you've got it. There's people out there that do care. People out there that love you. There are people out there that will support you. Maybe it might not be your immediate family, but there are people out there. But yeah, just keep pushing forward every day because you'll make it. All right. So yeah.
Awesome. Um, but yeah, thank you so much for for coming onto our podcast and talking about your business and the beautiful message that you guys are getting across to our community. Shout out to Vilz's wife as well. Would it be awesome she could if she was on too. But yeah, no, amazing. Love what you guys are doing, and we're there to support you. 100%. Love. Yeah, all for it. Did you have anything you wanted to say to our audience before we sign out?
Um, Man, just live every day like you want to live it. Cherish every moment you have with your loved ones. Whatever plan you've got for yourself in the future, go for it. Don't be scared to fail. Because you're just falling short of something, and you're just gonna learn from it, and you'll just get better every day. Trust me. All right, so keep pushing forward and chase those dreams. Yeah.
Okay, and where can everyone find you?
We're on Instagram and Facebook, just PolyKidz. Yeah, so for our mental health teas and all our ordering and stuff, we've got a website as well. So the links are all in the bio. So yeah.
Yeah, cool. Everybody give him a follow, PolyKidz, on Instagram and Facebook. You check out the website as well. I bought myself a t-shirt, so I can't wait to wear it. I love the message on there. Fuck suicide on it, yeah, even though it's blanked out. But yeah, we all know what it says. Because like legit,
Yeah, I wanted to have it on. I wanted to have it on so bad, but But my wife said, "Oh, if you have it, people will be more scared of the message than want to actually read it." And I was like, "Man, yeah." So like the reason why I put it on there is because like we can't like sugarcoat it, you know. We can't
Yeah.
sugarcoat this message. It's got to
Yeah.
be out there and for people to actually understand. So yeah, I get asked a lot about it. I've had people ask me if I can take it off and change it. I'm like, look, make your own shirt and change it on your own shirt. You know, this is my message. I'm not sugarcoating nothing. This is for this is for people to understand. This is for me. This is the real pandemic. You know,
Yeah.
suicide. That's a real pandemic for me.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
I love it. We all know what it means. I love it, and yeah, it's got power.
yeah,
It's got power to it. And yeah, we're
yeah.
100% supporting you. Thank you so much for all you do for the community. Thank you to your
You.
wife as well. And yeah, like hopefully, this episode helps anybody out there. And always reach out for help. It's not, it's okay to fail because you know that you're a step closer to success. Um, but yeah, that's all I have for today. Happy Sunday. And let's all stay positive and keep safe, everyone. We'll see you in the next episode.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.